So the topic of today's presentation is how to stress less and feel better in minutes with positive psychosomatics. Just move this one window out of the way so I can see your stuff here. All right, and positive psychosomatics, we'll get into what psychosomatic means in just a minute. But first off, you know, we're all experiencing the COVID virus right now, the self-quarantine, the social distancing, all that kind of stuff. And you're probably, you know, in your home. And if you're self-quarantined right now, just out of curiosity, just type yes, quarantine, something like that. Yep, shelter in place, Seattle, okay, yep. Sheltering here, big time in Minnesota. Yes, I am working from home. Okay, so I'm not off the mark here. You know, we're all kind of self-quarantined. We're at home. And, you know, maybe things are going not so good. Maybe they're going really good. You know, some people are just like getting stir crazy. They want to get outside. They want to explore and they want to just be outside of the house. But, you know, with the quarantine, without, you know, public resources, it's just really kind of crazy. And you know, if you were out a lot, especially before, and now you can't do that, it can be really tough, right? Also, our headspace we have over here, you know, it could be rather negative right now, you know, change in job, loss of job, you know, change in health, some people are getting sick, right? There's all kinds of problems that can be going on in our mental space, and we want to keep things positive, but it can be pretty hard to do sometimes, right? And also relationships. Just out of curiosity, type in family if you're living with some family right now, or alone if you're living all alone. Just curious here. Family. Yep. Husband with Sean. Yep. Alone. Wife and college-age daughters. All right. Maybe you have some little kids, some of you as well. So we're all together in this confined space. If you're not used to that, if kids have come home from college and stuff, maybe you've got a bit less space, you're kind of stepping on each other's toes. I mean, things can be frustrating right now. And there are some really good techniques that I'd like to share with you today, so that instead of like wanting to set your house on fire, maybe murder your wife and kids, that kind of thing, right? We can maybe like improve our house, we can have better relationships than ever, connect with our loved ones, and instead of, you know, getting stuck in our own unhappy place, we can actually show up as our best possible selves each and every day while we're here at home with our loved ones and communicating like we're doing right now on the internet. So let's get into that right here. First off, just if you don't know who I am, my name is Nick Ritchey, and what I do is I help high potentials stress less, achieve more, and feel better than ever with something I like to call mindware. So I help you install these mindware updates. We'll get into that a little bit throughout this presentation, but basically I help people make the best of themselves. And so that'd be me in the middle. That's my lovely wife. And here are some of my great friends. And the topic again is how to stress less and feel better in minutes with positive psychosomatics. So what qualifies me to talk about this kind of stuff? So for those of you who know me, you know that I'm a positive psychology graduate. I attended the MAPP program at the University of Pennsylvania. And kind of my claim to fame was when I showed up, everybody was like, there's somebody traveling all the way from Korea to UPenn every single month. You know, I want to meet this person. Who the hell is crazy enough to do that? And so everybody's looking around the room for some Korean. And then they're like, who is this guy? And I'll just be standing right next to them. It's like, oh, yeah. That's me. I'm the silly guy that lived in Korea for 14 years, studied positive psychology, and came back and forth to UPenn. So I went through the MAPP program, and if you're not familiar with that, that's what this Time magazine was kind of based on. Here's me right here. Here's the founder, Marty. And we had some great speakers. It was an amazing, incredible time. This is a little over a decade ago. We had Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who you might know from Flow. Angela Duckworth taught our research methods class, absolutely amazing person. I'm super happy that she got her book Grit published recently. We had Barry Schwartz as a visiting professor who published The Paradox of Choice, had all kinds of great stuff there. And of course, Marty Seligman, Learned Optimism, Authentic Happiness, Flourish, all kinds of great stuff. An amazing person who started our program and is really responsible for getting positive psychology out in the world. And so I got to study with all of them. So really lucky person, really good time to be alive, excellent, amazing program. So what I'm going to share with you is some of the stuff that I learned, and then some of the things in the 10 years in between that I've used on pretty much a daily basis to take these problems that we're talking about, the quarantine, the negative mental space that you might be in, and then connecting with others better. So just 3 tools for that. So we're going to turn pessimism into optimism. We're going to use positive psychosomatics. So we're going to use our body to improve our mind. We're going to see how our body is linked to our mental space and how they affect each other, vice versa. And then also how to go from everyday just normal circumstances and make the ordinary extraordinary. All right, if that sounds good to you, just type a little yes here. If you're excited to go, let me know your thoughts real quickly. Plus iPads. All right. Yes. Woo. Yes. All right. Yeah. Okay, we've got a yeah. Love it. Okay, so let's move on with this then. But first off, I'm just going to ask you to, like I've done, try to remove any kind of distractions. I still have like third grader handwriting, apologize for that, but try to get rid of any of those distractions. That might be your phone, it might be family, you know, they can give you 30 minutes just for this. Make sure that you have something to write on and something to write with, because you'll want to keep some notes, but don't try to keep up with me. I kind of talk fast, and so you'll need to kind of listen fast. Just write down a few keywords here and there, and I'll give you some space to do these activities together. And also bring your strengths. So think of, if you know your VIA strengths, so some of you will know your VIA strengths. If you know your VIA strengths, please just type them into the chat here real quickly. And I'll share you my 5 with you real quickly so you kind of have an idea of what I mean. But your strengths, if you use your strengths, kind of like, think of it like a marionette doll, right? A marionette has all the strings. And if you cut those strings, what happens? The doll just lays there on the ground, you know, not really doing much. You attach those strings and you start moving around, and it brings the doll to life. If you start using your strengths, if you bring your strengths into your life, you're just going to have a lot more energy, happiness, vibrance. Great. So here we have perseverance and honesty are my top 2. Lee K says appreciation of beauty, curiosity, love of learning, and perspective. All right. So some of you know your strengths: spirituality, creativity, and fairness. All right, so whatever your strengths are, great, bring those forward. My top 5, I remember them as cables. The marionette doll is an easy thing. So creativity, authenticity, bravery, love of learning, and zest. So those are my 5. I'm going to try to bring those to this presentation. Think of one thing. If you don't know what your strengths are, what do you want to bring to this? Are you going to bring attention? Are you going to bring patience, because I talk kind of fast? Maybe you don't like my face. I don't know. What strengths are you going to bring so that you can bring your best self to this learning opportunity, so that you can come away with this and be able to use these tools to improve your life? All right, so type in one thing that you're going to bring with yourself, one strength, into the chat down below. All right, resilience and curiosity. Love it. Love of learning. Perfect. Yeah, if you're a love of learning, you're going to love this stuff, especially if you haven't encountered it before. Appreciation of beauty. All right, perfect. Love of people. Love it. Okay, so you've got your strengths. You're going to bring it. You've got rid of the distractions. You have something to write on and something to write with. Let's dive into it. And if you're curious about missing anything, you don't want to miss anything out, this recording will be online, but I also have some supplementary materials that I've prepared for you. If you just remind me at the end of the presentation, I'll show you where to get those. All right, just type yes, help me remember. I've got a lot on my mind as the presenter, right? So open for change. Yep, okay, great. So yeah, help me remember, and we'll get to that at the end. All right, so I'm also going to bring my strengths, and like I said, I do speak a little quickly. I'll try to slow it down. If you're an auditory, you might hate me, but I'm a very visual person, so it's kind of like you get a picture in your head and then you just kind of vomit it out. So we have lots of pictures to aid learning, and I'll try to slow things down a little bit when we get to that point after the preliminaries. All right, here we go. If you're all good to go, just type good, and we'll just get going. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Lots of goods. Perfect. All right, here we go. Starting off. So what is the hardest part of quarantine for you right now? I kind of came to this with my own suppositions, but type in 1 or 2 words, like what's the hardest part of the COVID-19 virus for you right now? I know this is a big range. Like, I know some people who've already lost some family and friends, which I can totally relate to. You know, I lost my brother, my business partner, and several friends in the last 5 years alone. So yeah, that's tough. Trying to avoid expletives, but that sucks. But it could be more mild, like, you know, it's just I can't go to the gym anymore. Okay, so juggling too many balls, lots of foci, uncertainty, unable to swim, my favorite exercise, gym, sorry for your losses. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, there's all kinds of difficulties. What I'm going to ask you to do is just write down in a couple words that one thing, not just typing, but write that down. That's going to be your focus for today's presentation. Okay, you're going to take that and we're going to do something really, hopefully very positive, very empowering with it. Okay, so we can turn this pain into power. All right. Yep. Okay. So lots of good comments there. Some of you are probably thinking positive what? So positive psychosomatics, we're just going to break this down really quickly for you. So positive is obviously the positive part instead of a negative. Usually when the term psychosomatics is used, it's talking about negative problems. And the psych, as in psychology, just has to do with the mind. And the soma, if we have Greek, we're talking about the body. And if we're speaking the root from Latin, we're talking about sleep, which is why it's no coincidence that the word soma was used for the drug. If you've ever read A Brave New World by Huxley, it had to do with essentially putting the people to sleep. All right, and so positive psychosomatics. So if we're saying positive, we're not going to be looking at this in a negative form. We're going to be looking at how the mind is linked to the body and how the body is linked to the mind and how improving one can improve the other. Kind of like in powerlifting, which I did for a while. Oftentimes, like say your deadlift would be stuck, and by improving your bench press, all of a sudden your deadlift would come up. So you're kind of working. These two are just inextricably linked. That's not rolling off my tongue, inextricably linked, right? And you can't basically have one without the other. For example, the mind affecting the body. So we already talked a little bit about grief, things like post-traumatic stress disorder. We can have negative ways that the mind affects the body. I mean, like with grief, nothing physically happened to you, but like it turn your entire system upside down. But we can also have positive ways for the mind to affect the body. So we know that people who are happier generally tend to have better immune systems, live longer, be more successful, all kinds of really good things associated with, positive headspace influencing our physical indicators, our body. And likewise, our body influences our mind. And I'm actually going to skip over that because we'll get into that in the second lesson for today. We have 3 kind of big things. So does that make sense to everyone? Are you kind of getting that? Psychosomatic is just the link between the mind and body, and we're going to be doing positive ways of influencing each other. If that's good, just type a yes or got it, something like that. Got it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So got it. Perfect. Great. All right, so let's continue on here. So we have positive psychosomatics, and we're going to show you how you can stress less and feel better. Basically, everything I do today is going to help you stress less and feel better if you implement it. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at is how to transform adversity into energy with ABCDE. Okay, who's already seen ABCDE or who remembers it? Just type it into the chat if you got it. If not, this will be new to you. If it's review, great, you got it. All right, perfect. So the ABCDE, we're going to get into that. I need a reminder. Perfect. All right, so we're going to start off with screw you, Dad. Screw you, Dad. This is one of the comments that one of my clients recently said when we were exploring, why he has a hard time getting sleep. Because all of the logical reasons for getting sleep were there. It's like, I need to get sleep because it's going to help me with weight loss. It's going to make me feel better. All this good stuff. All kinds of wonderful reasons for sleep. But emotionally, he was going in the back of his mind. It's like, if I go to bed early, then I'm a kid. I'm not a full-grown adult. I'm not responsible. All that kind of stuff. So screw you, Dad, is one type of adversity you might have. And if we don't get past that, it's going to continue to be a problem. You might not sleep well for 30 years if you've got this little thing in the back of your mind that's preventing you from going to bed early. All right, so Ray Dalio, one of my favorite books is Principles by Ray Dalio in the last few years. He says, view painful problems as potential improvements that are screaming at you. So what's the worst thing ever? Like when you have a problem, it's if that problem either doesn't go away or it keeps on repeating itself and you just can't get rid of it, right? So with our ABCs, we can get rid of recurring problems or persistent problems by doing a little bit of mental legwork that doesn't really take too long. You can remember it with 5 steps. And if you think about the A, we know that we're going to end with the E. And the A stands for adversity. So we need some kind of pain to focus on, which is why I asked you to think of a problem. What's the biggest thing that's giving you trouble during COVID right now? And we're going to do a little bit of reflection so that we can then make some progress. This is just another formula from Ray Dalio's book. All right, so let's hop into it. The A stands for adversity. We have some kind of a problem, and then whatever the problem may be, you know, that's keeping up your headspace. It's the stress, it's the kids, it's the work, it's juggling too many things, the things that you mentioned in the chat. We have some kind of adversity. And then we have some kind of belief about that adversity. All right. In the sleep case, it's like, man, I am not sleeping enough. I am definitely struggling mentally, physically, psychologically, like psychosocially. You know, I'm snapping at my coworkers, that stuff, because I'm not getting a good night's sleep. But the underlying belief might be something like, you know, if I go to bed early, then that means I'm a child. I'm not a fully grown, capable person, and I hate having my freedom stifled. All right. So we have some kind of a belief that's underlying the adversity. And see if I can remember it, like it was Shakespeare says, nothing's either bad or good, but thinking makes it so, right? So we have some kind of a belief. And if we have a negative belief or a not so helpful belief, what happens? We have some kind of a consequence, some consequence to that belief that's not so good. It might impact our life. In my friend's case, it was, you know, he's not getting to bed at night, he's chronically underslept, and it's impacting his life in all kinds of negative ways. So what can we do about it? We have the D, which stands for dispute. This whole process is known as positive disputation. Okay, so we want to dispute the belief. For example, in my friend's case, if, you know, I really, you know, if I don't go to bed, or if I go to bed early at night, that makes me a child. Like, come on, you're a full-grown man. Does that really make you a child? You know, or, you know, I don't have any kind of freedom or control over my life. It's like, no, you're actually controlling your life. You have plenty of freedom. You're just deciding to go to bed instead of being forced to go to bed like you were as a child, right? So we can dispute our belief. And then once we do, we go, okay, actually, it's kind of silly now that I've vocalized what my underlying belief is and I've seen the consequence. Wouldn't it be better if I started, you know, maybe setting a bedtime alarm and trying to look for the positives? E stands for energize. All right, so now we're gonna take that new belief that's a lot more helpful, that's going to lead to better outcomes, and we're going to energize it. And this is actually the third part of the presentation today, because a lot of people struggle with this energizing part. It's like, if you're at home right now and you're trying to get some exercise, just try to type that into the thing. Like, we're all struggling to get exercise if we were like a gym member and the gym is closed, right? So yeah, just type in exercise or NEPA or walk or something like that. And I know a lot of people right now, because I'm kind of in the health walk, great, thank you. I'm in the health space, so I see a lot of people that are just like, Nick, my gym is closed. What do I do now? A lot of people are freaking out. It's like, I just lost 80 pounds. Now I can't do the physical component. What am I going to do? And well, is it that we can't do anything now? Online classes, okay. So how can we energize our new beliefs? So let's say it's the walking thing. You know, I can't go to the gym anymore. I can't go outside and walk because there aren't a lot of trails. Is there anything you can do? Probably if you go through this process, you're going to generate some outcomes. And then we want to energize it. And you still might kind of go, yeah, but it's not as good as going to the gym. That's a very big point of failure, is the energize. So we'll get to that in a minute. But the idea is that we then have our better outcome in mind and we energize ourselves to start moving towards that. All right. So hopefully that's all making sense. I'm just going to put all this text on the screen for you so you can write it down if you haven't already. This is maybe a little more legible than my handwriting, but we have adversity, belief, consequence, disputation, and energize. If you've got it all down, could you just type good to go or ready or something like that, and we'll move on to the next part. Got it? Got it, ready, okay. All right, you're doing awesome. This is amazing. I'm glad you're keeping up here. Good to go, perfect. Thumbs up, love it. All right, and then also just what have you found most useful so far? So we just went through the A, B, C, D, E. Let me know what you found most useful so far, because it's gonna be a little different for everyone. Some people, it's just another technique. Some people, really good to review this. And maybe you've had some kind of an aha moment. Just share something real quickly in the chat, and then we'll move on to the second technique. Ready, reminder, okay. Get a sip of water, good to review. But consequences are useful, yes. because our beliefs do have consequences, whether they're good or bad. Mhm. All right, so let's move on from there. Just monitoring the chat here for a little bit more. All right, so the question is, are you going to start using this when you get stuck in your own headspace? What can you do? You can start going through your ABCDEs, and oftentimes you'll find out, oh, actually, there wasn't really anything to be too worried about. Which would you rather do? Just go through the ABCDEs quickly, or get stuck, stay in your bedroom, a little depressed, not wanting to get out of bed for a couple hours? I've seen both happen. Try to make this old hat. Try to make this easy and automatic, and you'll find yourself starting to go down that rabbit hole and then pulling yourself out real quickly. It goes really, really well with time and practice. All right. So that is how we transform adversity into energy with ABCDE. And I apologize, there's a little bit of lag for my Wi-Fi, so sometimes with the transitions between slides, it's going to lag just a little bit. So the second part of how to stress less and feel better in minutes a day with positive psychosomatics is opportunities everywhere. It's overwhelming. When I had to stay home, I was really shocked by how many things there were that I could do that I wasn't usually thinking about doing just because I'm out doing other things, right? So you're at home, there's all kinds of things that you can do. All of my clients are kind of going, wow, Nick, I have all this new time now, and most of it's getting pissed away for, in my negative headspace, or, I want to do something, but I don't really know how to go about it. What should I really be focusing on right now? And what I tend to work on with people are 5 things. And this is the soma part. This is the body. So we have the mind influences the body. We have our ABCs for the mind. And we're going to look at some things that you can do with your body to improve how you function mentally. All right, so here we go. We're going to say just stand up. And STAND is an acronym for, oh, a little out of order there. All right, before we get into the acronym for STAND, we'll talk about the downward spiral. And when a lot of people come to me, right, they're like, Nick, things are going this way, and now I have all this time to fix it. But a lot of people, sadly, are still not going to be fixing their problems, even though they have more time, they have more potential energy to put towards it with this stay-at-home stuff. But they're still not going to start. And I kind of speak from experience. Because like my whole thing was weight loss when I was younger. That was kind of like my springboard for success. Spent a long time not losing weight, and eventually once I started getting lean, it was great. But a lot of people put off the weight loss thing for 10, 20, 40, whatever many years. People like my grandmother never lose it. Other people just yo-yo, but never kind of really get the whole thing. And this is my brother who I was mentioning, because it would have been his birthday 2 days ago. And he struggled with his weight. And part of the reason I wrote, I'm sorry, this book is up here, but part of the reason I wrote that was, it was kind of out of regret. I wanted to share this information that was in my head that didn't get out in time to help him. And there are opportunities everywhere, but we need to take them and actually do something with them. So when I think about opportunities, I think of the Vitruvian Man, and we put a little leaf down here just to be correct for our presentation. And when we come to standing up, STAND, kind of think about our foundation, the feet right there. And S stands for sleep. All right. Without sleep, how do you feel? How much energy do you have? How much time does your body get to recover? All right. So sleep is one of the main determining factors. See if you can guess what the D is. D would be diet. The foods that you eat definitely affect your stress and your energy. How about T? We have the more active parts with the hands. We have T is for training. N is for NEPA. That stands for non-exercise physical activity. For this presentation, don't worry about the distinction too much, but there are big differences physiologically in terms of what something like, say, gardening does for your system and something like powerlifting will do for your system. Two very different extremes of what you can do with your body, but they both have very important energy impacts, stress reduction, ways to reduce your stress and make you feel better. And then we also have awareness. A is for awareness. And for example, when it comes to like weight loss, we know that keeping a food log, simply by paying attention to your foods, we can double the outcome, the expected total weight loss, just by paying attention to what you're putting in your mouth, not even logging calories, just like keeping a food log. And if you extend this from like something specific, like weight loss, to something more global, your life, where we have all kinds of adversity, if you keep a log of your problems, then we can kind of do like Dalio said in the earlier slide and turn pain into power. So awareness is absolutely huge, and it starts in the mind. All right, so tons of opportunities absolutely everywhere. And I just wanted to get into some of the physical and see how, where you might have some major improvements if you were to make them. If you're still with me so far, is this making sense? We had sleep, training, awareness, NEPA, diet. I'll write those down. If you write in the comments, which one do you think you might need the most? Sleep, training, awareness, NEPA, or diet? Which would help you stress less and feel better? Awareness, okay. Sleep. I'm seeing another awareness, training and NEPA, sleep. Okay, it looks like sleep, NEPA, and awareness are kind of winning right now. So sleep, NEPA, and awareness. Let's get rid of training for now and get rid of diet for now. So let's talk about sleep first, maybe. Where are you right now in terms of your traffic lights? Is it a red where you're not getting enough sleep? It's impacting your mood. Maybe you're getting in fights with other people because you snap at them. You're stressed out because you're not getting a good enough night's sleep. It's actually a form of torture that's outlawed in the international community, sleep deprivation. Terrible, terrible thing if you're at a red in sleep. So are you at a red? Are you at a green, where you wake up in the morning without an alarm, the birds are chirping, and kind of like Jim Rohn said, don't try to get through the day, try to get from the day. You wake up, you're energized, you're good to go. You can't wait to get started. That would be a green. Okay, so I'm seeing fall asleep, can't stay asleep, yellow, green, yellow, yellow, yellow. Okay, yeah, and somewhere in between is gonna be at a yellow. So something you might wanna consider then is if your adversity is sleep, not getting a good night's sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, stuff like that. Maybe that could be our focus, trying to go from, say, a yellow to a green in sleep. Awareness. I'm curious what you would like for awareness. If you could type into the chat, maybe we'll riff on it just a little bit here, but awareness, what are you looking for? Which kind of domain of life? Is this for general awareness for your job? Is this awareness for relationships? What kind of awareness are you looking for? Mindfulness, okay? So just awareness in general, self-care. All right, so this is a very unique, wonderful opportunity to be being more mindful for taking care of yourself, because who do we take care of? We take care of everybody else in our household first, and we get to ourselves last. That's kind of the natural instinct, right? Okay, busier than ever. Don't know who has more time. How to do it in the midst of crazy busy. Yep. Guess I don't understand what you do for awareness. Okay, so usually when I'm talking about awareness, it's domain specific. So if we're talking about diet, for example, like people aren't keeping a food log, really simple, or they're not making sure that they have vegetables every meal. They really just don't have any kind of awareness, and they don't know it because you don't know what you don't know. Until you start paying attention, you don't know what's going on. Awareness, if you are at like a green level, let's pretend it's diet again. You know exactly what's going into your body. You know how it's impacting your energy and your mood. You know that you are going to either gain weight or lose weight. You know it's supporting your recovery from your training. If you have high awareness, you basically know what to expect, and you're not surprised or blindsided by things. It doesn't matter which domain of life it's in, but you're not blindsided by things as much if your awareness is high. If everything seems kind of like it's random and chaotic, then your awareness is probably low and it needs to improve. Okay. Making sense? Cool. All right, so awareness right now, I mean, you might be crazy busy and you might be going, why am I crazy busy? Is it because I don't have my priorities in line? Is it because I've taken on too much? But start maybe paying attention to like, why am I crazy busy? And if it feels like you're kind of down here, we might want to try to improve that. All right, so there's another opportunity for improvement. And then NEPA, okay, so we have NEPA, non-exercise physical activity. Let's be honest, who in here right now is going and spending at least an hour outside every day? Just out of curiosity. If you got an hour, you can brag about it. I'm not gonna say most days. Okay, I'm seeing a most days. Yes, I do. Some, not most days, yes. Okay. Not at all in New York City. All right, some. All right, so if this is something, if you're, spending too much time on the couch, sitting down in front of the computer, all that kind of stuff, this can definitely improve your mood and your energy and, help relieve some stress. Just get out there, let the juices get flowing, let your subconscious mind work on things a little bit more, step away from the computer, whatever it may be. But this might be another opportunity for improvement. Now, I'm going to kind of skip forward here. I noticed the time is already getting low, but here's an idea of what can happen. What I end up doing. Oh, is this upside down as well? No, we're good. All right, so this is just an example. Ignore all the text, but like this is what I do with my friends, family, and clients is we'll take something like this. We'll look at your sleep training awareness MAPP diet. You'll have red, yellows, and greens. And then over time, imagine what life would look like. This is after 23 weeks. He finally just got to green. So what would life look like if your sleep went from a red or a yellow to a green? How much more energized, how much better would you show up every single day? If you're training, if you've never trained before, maybe it's been 40, 60 years already of your life and you haven't trained before, what would that look like if you started training on a regular basis? How much more energy would you have? Awareness, if you start paying attention to the things that are problematic, 6 months later, all of a sudden you're green on awareness, like nothing is catching you by surprise anymore. You know exactly what to expect. If I do A, B is going to happen. Like this stuff can change your life. And that's how you improve basically your body in order to kind of release your mind to do its own thing, because you're not being limited by things that are very preventable, like lack of sleep, lack of movement, those kinds of things. All right, if this stuff is making sense so far, just click making sense. Making sense, great, making sense, exclamation point, perfect. All right, so I don't mean to overwhelm you, but there are literally just opportunities everywhere. Here are 5 things you can kind of improve on. And if you do, I promise what's going to happen is, by taking better care of yourself and your body, your mental capacities are going to be much better as well. You're going to be in a better headspace if you're not sleep deprived and that kind of good stuff. All right, so opportunities are everywhere. And the third part of how to stress less and feel better in minutes with positive psychosomatics is, you're going to love it, ENERGIZE with P.E.R.M.A. Okay, who knows what P.E.R.M.A is? You were paying attention to Seligman. I know if you were in my class or around my class, Flourish wasn't written yet. I see a yes here. All right, we used to have the 4 pillars of happiness. Now we have 5. Nope, not sure. Okay, well, we're going to learn that in just a minute. All right, so we're going to hop into P.E.R.M.A. So how to energize with P.E.R.M.A. So again, in our ABCs, the E was energize, and that's where a lot of people kind of fall down and struggle. And I use this literally every single day, every day, in order to enhance whatever activity I may be doing. So we're going to look at how to energize whatever your one thing was, one thing that's holding you back the most right now. Let's try to bring some P.E.R.M.A. to that. So the P stands for positive emotions. So whatever your one thing may be, let's say, let's use the NEPA example. So positive emotions for NEPA, what can you do? Maybe you could, let's do some brainstorming for specifics in a minute here, but we'll come back to that in just a second. So positive emotions, we have engagement. So let's say take our NEPA, let's say we're going outside for a walk. How can we make that walk more engaging? Relationships. For example, if you're taking a walk, one thing that I do with my wife every single day is go for a walk right now. It's great. We get to talk to each other about things that matter. It's absolutely lovely. Enjoy the feel of fresh air, enjoy, communicate with our neighbors. Okay, yeah, similar to the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps, I know quite a few 3 Ps, but I think the 3 Ps you're thinking about have to do with the A, B, C, D, E, the personal, persistent, and pervasive. If that's what you mean, Marilyn. Okay, I'm just going to continue on here, looking at the chat. All right, so positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning. Ooh, sorry, that doesn't write on there very well. And the last one is achievement. Give you just a second, write those down, and then we'll just kind of look at some examples, and then I'll give you some time to work on your own as well. So how can we energize the idea that you've already come up with to cope with something during COVID here? Okay, so we have positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. How can we infuse our activities with these things? I guarantee you're going to like an activity a lot more if you bring positive emotions to it, if you're doing it with somebody else, and if you're maybe achieving something in the process. All right, so let's go through just kind of a little brainstorming. Let's say our topic again, our adversity would be NEPA. Our belief is maybe that we can't do it. The consequences is that we don't go outside. Here's the sun. We're going to say we don't get that. Our disputation is that actually I can go outside still, maybe not as much. Even if it's in the backyard, it's better than nothing. So we're going to go outside, and then we're going to energize. Let's try to bring some positive emotions. Let's say we're going for a walk. Maybe we listen to some happy, upbeat tunes, really get the blood pumping, get outside. Having a funny quote. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll try to refrain from the chat because that slows things down here. But I'll come back and respond to these a little bit later in our Q&A. All right. So positive emotions.Maybe we can throw in some music. Engagement. What could we do? Instead of maybe music, you might want to be engaging your mind a bit more. Maybe you listen to I don't know, podcast, something like that. Relationships. Like I said, I love to go walking with my missus. So we'll just be holding hands here, strolling down the lane. All right. Meaning, what kind of meaning could we hear? Now this, when you're going outside doing your walks and stuff, if you know some other positive interventions, things like counting your 3 blessings. What are 3 things that I'm grateful for today? Even though you might not be having the best day or something, you can still count your blessings. Take a few minutes to think about, like, what am I really grateful for right now? Pretty much guaranteed to make you feel better, especially if you do it on a regular basis. Marty Seligman talks about this. He's been talking about it for years. So we might do something like the 3 blessings. Or thing I thought of the other day was we used to do this intervention where we'd write a gratitude letter. Tell somebody that we love, how much we care for them, how important they are to us, how they've maybe transformed our lives, and just expecting nothing in return. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to do anything. You're just telling somebody that you appreciate them. And instead of writing a letter, nowadays, you're outside. You haven't seen them for a while. Maybe you've got your phone. I'll pick up my phone here. Why not shoot a video? I mean, there's so many dumb videos of people walking around doing the selfie thing. That's all narcissism. How about instead of a narcissistic video, you put your phone out in front of you and you talk to your best friend and you tell them how much you love them? Wouldn't that be a nice thing to do on your walk? All right. So some kind of meaning. So we could also have gratitude. And the last one is achievement. Let's just, I don't know, we'll have a bullseye here. All right, so here's our achievement. Maybe you can go outside with a problem in your head and start working on it during your walk, whatever it may be. There's a whole lot of things that you can bring. It depends on what you want out of it, but there are tons of opportunities. Just go through the P.E.R.M.A checklist, see which 1 or 2. You can also combine these things, but which 1 or 2 make the most sense to you. So that's how we energize after doing our positive disputation. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple minutes here. Let's start off. If you could just type in your adversity into the chat, and then I'm going to have you kind of go through this process on your own. So we'll go from adversity, belief, consequence. Don't type all this in. Just type this, your adversity. And then we're going to go to energize. And I'm curious, once you're all done, you can just type energy, just like E, and then whatever your outcome is, or your idea. Okay, so I see a binge eating. Yep, major adversity, really hard for weight loss. I'm just going to set a 2-minute timer on my phone here. Working too hard, so sitting too long and tired. Yep, if you can get up a bit more, that's definitely going to change your energy. Collapsing of identities. Interesting. Okay. A little bit less clarity maybe on who you are, what you're working for, work, home, career, crisis management. We all wear different personas and different masks for different tasks under different settings, right? So maybe it could just be a little bit more clarity around, the new situation. What kind of identity or persona do you want to craft? What do you want to bring to this new environment? Okay, trying to learn new technology and be very competent very quickly. Yeah, real challenge right there, right? Learning new tech. Because with anything, right, there's always a learning curve. And before we can be great, we have to be good. Before we're good, we have to be bad. Before we're bad, we have to try. So trying to accelerate that curve, it depends on what it is. Some have a steep learning curve and some have a very small learning curve. It just depends on what the technology is and everything. Yep. But real challenge. Okay, so then what are your beliefs about that? What are the consequences? Again, don't type these into the chat. Try to do some disputation. And then I'm just going to kind of guide you again through the PERMA. So we're going to try to energize once you have an idea. Actually, just type this. If you're ready to do the PERMA part, just say type ready. Okay, that's 2 minutes. Ready. All right. So positive emotions. How can you add some positive emotions to your adversity? Okay, ready. Good. And as you've got some ideas, just start typing them in. If you're a little behind, no problem. Just type that stuff in. So positive emotions. What kind of positive emotions can you bring to it? Optimism. Opportunity to learn. All right, how can we make the activity more engaging? Being thankful. Yeah. How could we make this better by improving our relationship, either with the activity, the adversity itself, or maybe by bringing somebody else into the mix, or improving our relationship with another person who we're doing the activity with? Only eating meals with family and friends, not eating alone. Excellent way to improve relationships, right? With food and with your family. Wonderful. Love it. All right. How about meaning? Kind to myself, reaching out for support, using my network and supportive team. Making a difference. All right. And how about achievement? Is there any way we can tie this to other goals that we have, perhaps? Okay, my work helps leadership and support staff. Yeah. Noticing small steps and savoring. Love it. All right, I don't want to rush things, but at the same time, we're already running a bit over. So if you're ready to continue, type continue. If you'd like more time, type time. Okay, I see a continue. Continue. All right, yep, we're going. We're going to continue then. Just about done here. All right, so we can energize now with PERMA. You know what that means. And I'm not really sure why you came to this call. I have a better idea now after we've been able to interact with the chat and so forth. I think it's absolutely wonderful that you showed up here, but you know, being in the house, being with people, not really sure exactly how your job might pan out or change, or your different responsibilities, your identity, having too much time, having too little time, all kinds of different reasons. But at least now, whatever your adversity may be, you now have the ABCs. You know how to transform adversity, the A in ABCDE, into energy. So when we start off with our adversity, we know that if we go through this process, we're going to end up with energy. So let's try to use this a little bit more. You know that opportunities are absolutely everywhere. There's all kinds of opportunities. Perhaps the biggest problem is deciding which one is the most important to prioritize and to improve right now. But if you feel like you should be doing something, you probably should. And what's really going to help out with that is if you energize using PERMA. Start bringing whatever it may be. If you don't really feel like doing it too much, let's just stack all the PERMA that we can in your favor. And I think I gave Marty Seligman credit for this. This is from his book Flourish, but positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. If you start bringing these things into every activity, whatever it may be, from eating lunch to brushing your teeth to going for a walk, you're going to appreciate whatever you're doing more. It's going to be a deeper, more meaningful experience. And as crazy as this sounds, I've noticed that I've traveled to over 20 different countries. And the more novel experiences that you try to bring this to, the more that you're just really kind of making the most of life, the longer you seem to live, and the more deeply and appreciatively you experience everything. All right. So the only question now is, are you ready to start implementing some of these changes? If you are, great. I just can't wait to see your results. I'm sure it's going to transform your life, just like I've seen it happen many times before. And if you are not, if you still have some questions, if you're not sure where to go, if you'd like some clarifications, we're going to stop this call, but we're going to pick up in a separate webinar after a short break. And I'll show you where to get that in just a second. I think I've got a slide right here. And yep, so that'll be at limitslayer.com/map. All right, thank you again, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording, and thanks for being here.